Hello there, it's Cherie Valentine. I'm back again with episode number 36 for Tappy Break. Tappy Break is something that I do every week. I record it live, and it's actually an opportunity for you to come and be part of the experience. If you're not familiar with Hangouts on Air, I just want to let you know that this is all set down from an event page, which allows you an opportunity to communicate, be part of the experience, meet other people, share, build community. So if you haven't been joining me live, I would love to see you do that. There's always a link posted, and when you click on the link, there you are. And I also invite you into this space with me before and after the live recording so we get a chance to talk and meet each other and learn and grow community to support each other. So if you haven't been joining me live, I would love to see you do that. And there's open invitation. I am here live on Wednesdays at noon Eastern Standard Time. Yes, it is a time change. For those of you who have been tuning in, just wanted to let you know that. And I really enjoy doing these tappy breaks for you. I have found that we all carry these subconscious and hidden thoughts, beliefs, fears that reside and hold up space within our, not only our energy body, but our physical body. And when I started to incorporate tapping into my life and into my business with my clients, the changes were profound. The successes were more instant, happened more quickly. The relief from old trauma, old trapped pain, both physically and emotionally, was being released and cleared up. More expansion was possible, new perspectives were being found, and I watched in awe how this happened. I have watched people who have been in pain for years and told that they would never be able to be free of it, actually rid that pain. And I have helped people with that. It's definitely not my specialty, but I have experienced it for myself, and not even trying to focus on pain. I've seen that happen in my clients. But I'm actually going to put a big shout out to Nick Ortner and the Tapping Solution, because I actually attended a training session where they worked with people specifically on pain, and it was mind-blowing. So if you're new to tapping, I really want to encourage you to give it a chance. Yes, it looks silly, and it even sounds silly, and that's okay. Just let it be okay. You know, we're so filled with judgments and criticism sometimes that it can get in our way. So tune in every week. Go to Cherie Valentine on YouTube and look at the playlist Tappy Break, because there are 36 episodes there with a topic I'm sure that will speak to you. And I always encourage you to tap with an open mind, because you may not notice right away the results, but they are there, and they're cumulative. So the more you tap, the more freedom you experience, and the more you grow and evolve. Today we are going to explore the topic of fear of failure. Okay, fear of failure is something that I think we all really struggle with at some time in our lives. And it's such a dirty word, one that leaves many feeling defeated, disappointed, and ruined. Whether it's a personal or a professional failure, the results can be devastating, especially when you fail to bounce back or allow the fear of failure and you let it keep you down. So how you feel about failure is going to make a difference. You can choose to see it from different perspectives. I know that I have spent too many years myself beating myself up, asking myself, what if? Feeling shame, regret, remorse, and unworthiness. I'm sure I'm not alone here. But then I began to look at my perceived failures differently. I began to look at the lessons I learned, and I started to ask myself some questions. And those questions are actually listed on the event page. They're listed in my blog at treevalentine.com, and they're also listed in the YouTube video description. So I would really encourage you at some point in time to sit down and answer those questions pretty honestly for yourself. It wasn't easy, to be honest, when I started to do this, but I started to realize how much I had been devaluing myself, my choices, my needs, and the places where I was at the time of those perceived failures. And if I continued to do that, the chances were strong that I would continue down that path and only see the failures and perpetuate more of them. So I decided to free myself, to create a new vision and a new version of me. Many people have used failure as an opportunity to reinvent themselves. Conan O'Brien is a great example of this, and he even spoke about it in 2011 when he offered the commencement address to the graduating class at Dartmouth. So I decided to forgive myself for my perceived failures, and I encourage you to do that. There are many ways that we can do this. Tapping is one of them. And I did tap. I tapped a lot. I tapped for days. I tapped over and over again, and it helped. I tapped on all the feelings that I had around this perceived failure. And I shouldn't say this because there were many, but I did them each one at a time separately. And I tapped on the disappointment and the shame and the blame and the resentment I felt. I tapped on anything and everything that came up for me, anything I thought or felt about each of those experiences. I tapped until I felt free and ready to move on with a renewed sense of clarity, and I continued to tap. So I would love to help you on that path. Today is a beginning. Today we are going to tap on your failures. We're going to free you from seeing things as failures and instead embrace them as lessons, opportunities, and freedom. So let's start tapping on the new, reinvented you. Think of a time in your life when you failed. It could be recent, it could be long ago, it doesn't matter, but just choose one. Each time I do Tappy Break, I try and give you a little bit more of an understanding and a perspective of how it works and how you can get the most experience out of just this video. Although it tends to be a more broad and general tapping, the more specific we can be, the more results you'll see. So I always encourage you, before I start the tapping, to specific and get honed in on something for yourself. Set the intention to allow something to reveal itself to you if you're not really sure or nothing's obviously coming to mind. And the reason we love to tap is because it will get us out of our thinking logical mind, where we're going to try and think it and know it and solve it and connect it from the place that it was all created in the first place. So we want to get out of that space and into the place where our intuition, where spirit, where inner wisdom reside, because that's where the freedom really is. So we're combining tapping, literally flushing stuck static energy in the body, in the energy system. But we're also speaking to the subconscious mind to shift and clear it and feed the conscious mind with more positive, open thoughts. So we're going to start tapping on one of your failures. And if you feel like there are many, or if something comes up for you during this tapping, I encourage you just to go back, tap again. You know, we're at about 8 minutes into the video, so you can literally just forward fast to the 8 minutes. You don't have to listen to what I said earlier, and just tap and continue to tap. And I also always invite you to reach out to me and connect with me personally. I love to have a conversation with you to see where you're at, where you're going, where you feel stuck, where you're struggling, how tapping has helped you, and maybe help you move something more quickly together. It's a complimentary session, and you just go to srivalentine.com/work with me, and we will jump into a hangout just like this and have a conversation face to face. So now let's start tapping on your failure. Where did you fail? How did it feel? How has it stopped you? Who do you blame? What's percolating for you? So be with that, hold that, feel that, and tap. And when we're done tapping, see what shifted for you. I will tap and say something and pause, and the man behind the curtain, Richard O., will repeat after me, so you'll just follow along with him. Use your own words when necessary. It's perfectly okay. This is your time. This is your break. This is your tappy break. Use it for your highest good. I can't believe I failed.
I can't believe I failed.
I was so sure it was going to work out.
I was so certain it was going to work out this time.
And it didn't.
And it didn't.
Once again,
Once again,
I failed.
I failed.
And I feel really lousy about it.
And I feel really lousy about it.
And even though I failed,
And even though I failed,
and I feel lousy,
and I feel lousy,
I choose to be okay with that.
I choose to be okay with that.
I choose to accept and love myself
I choose to accept and love myself
as best as I can in this moment.
as best as I can in this moment.
So even though I failed,
Even though I failed,
again,
again,
when is it going to change?
when is it going to change?
One failure after another.
One failure after another.
No matter how hopeful I am,
No matter how hopeful I am,
no matter how positive I am,
no matter how positive I am,
didn't work out again.
it didn't work out again.
And I'm going to choose to love myself anyway.
And I'm going to choose to love myself anyway.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
How do I love and accept a failure?
How do I love and accept a failure?
And that's what I am,
And that's what I am.
a big failure.
A big failure.
And even though I believe this is true,
And even though I believe this is true,
I choose to see it another way.
I choose to see it another way.
I choose to free myself
I choose to free myself
and stop keeping myself stuck
and stop keeping myself stuck
in failure.
in failure.
Now we'll just tap through the points. Top of the head, I'm such a failure.
I'm such a failure.
Once again, it didn't work out.
Once again, it didn't work out.
I had a vision.
I had a vision.
I had a dream.
I had a dream.
I had a plan.
I had a plan.
I had strategy.
I had strategy.
I did the work.
I did the work.
I put in time.
I put in time.
Did what I was supposed to do.
Did what I was supposed to do.
Gave it all I had.
Gave it my all.
And still it didn't work out
And still it didn't work out
the way that I wanted it to.
the way I wanted it to.
The way I planned for it to.
The way I envisioned it.
It just didn't work out.
It just didn't work out.
And I feel like a failure.
And I feel like a failure.
I just feel like a big failure.
I feel like a big failure.
I'm so angry at myself.
I'm so angry at myself.
I feel ashamed.
I feel ashamed.
I feel so unworthy.
I feel unworthy.
No matter how much I try,
No matter how much I try,
it just doesn't seem to work out.
it just doesn't seem to work out.
And I feel like a failure.
And I feel like a failure.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
And I'm so frustrated.
And I'm so frustrated.
I am so disappointed.
I'm so disappointed in myself.
And I'm so afraid to fail again.
And I'm so afraid to fail again.
That I don't even try.
That I don't even try.
Because when I try,
Because when I try,
and it doesn't work out,
and it doesn't work out,
the disappointment's worse.
the disappointment's worse.
The fear of failure gets worse.
The fear of failure gets worse.
And so someday I won't even try.
So someday I won't even try.
But that's not acceptable to me.
That's not acceptable to me.
I won't accept that.
I won't accept that.
I wonder if I can look at this a different way.
I wonder if I can look at this a different way.
Even though I did everything I could,
Even though I did everything I thought I could,
and it still didn't work out,
and it still didn't work out,
maybe there's a lesson there.
maybe there's a lesson there.
I wonder what that lesson could be.
I wonder what that lesson could be.
What did I learn?
What did I learn?
What did I do well?
What did I do right?
What could I have done differently?
What could I have done differently?
What was feeding my thoughts?
What was feeding my thoughts?
What was feeding my actions?
What was feeding my actions?
What belief was I holding?
What belief was I holding?
There's a part of me that really believed I would fail
There was a part of me that really believed I would fail
because I had failed before,
because I'd failed before.
and that belief was still there.
And that belief was still there.
That belief was a vibration.
That belief was a vibration.
It was an energy
It was an energy
that was fueling me
that was fueling me
and attracting to me
and attracting to me
the very thing I didn't want.
the very thing I didn't want.
Failure.
Failure.
But there was a part of me that believed I would fail.
But there was a part of me that believed I would fail.
Because I've been carrying it around for such a long time.
Because I've been carrying it around for such a long time.
I remember the first time that I failed.
I remember the first time I failed.
And what it felt like.
What it felt like.
How awful it was.
How awful it was.
How disappointed I was.
How disappointed I was.
How people reacted.
How people reacted.
Part of me made a vow.
Part of me made a vow.
I'd never feel that way again.
I'd never feel that way again.
And yet, I still do.
And yet, here I am.
Feeling like a failure.
Feeling like a failure.
Once again.
Once again.
Devaluing myself.
Devaluing myself.
Devaluing my choices.
Devaluing my choices.
Because the truth is,
I
did the best I could at that time.
I did the best I could at that time.
If I could have done differently, I would have.
If I could have done differently, I would have.
I can't do it differently then.
I can't do it differently then.
But I can now.
But I can now.
So what did I learn from that?
So what did I learn from that?
What did I learn to do differently?
What did I learn to do differently?
What did I learn to do better?
What did I learn to do better?
And I wonder if I was really aligned with that in the first place.
And I wonder if I was really aligned with that in the first place.
Because so many times when I look back at my failures,
Because so many times when I look back at my failures,
I realized I really wasn't aligned in the first place.
I realized I wasn't really aligned in the first place.
I didn't want to really do it anyway.
I really didn't want to do it anyway.
Or I didn't want to do it the way I thought I did.
Or I didn't want to do it the way I thought I did.
So part of me was smart.
Part of me was smart.
And I protected myself
And I protected myself
from having to go down that path.
from having to go down that path.
And as a result,
And as a result,
I made some different choices.
I made some different choices.
I did some things differently.
I did some things differently.
I went down a different path.
I went down a different path.
That was actually better for me.
That was actually better for me.
If I'm really honest with myself,
If I'm really honest with myself,
I can see that it was better.
I can see that it was better.
But it's hard to see that
But it's hard to see that
because I'm so filled with my self-loathing
because I'm so filled with my self-loathing
and this feeling of being a failure.
and this feeling of being a failure.
I choose to see my failures in a different light.
I choose to see my failures in a different light.
I choose to release the stress that I'm holding on to.
I choose to relieve the stress that I'm holding on to.
Letting go of all this stress.
Letting go of all this stress.
I'm releasing this stress.
I'm releasing the stress
of being a failure.
the stress of being a failure.
I choose to see it differently.
I choose to see it differently.
I choose to see that as an opportunity.
I choose to see that as an opportunity.
I choose to see that as growth.
I choose to see that as growth.
I choose to see that as a way to evolve
I choose that as a way to evolve
and to transform
and to transform
into who I'm really supposed to be,
into who I am really supposed to be,
into who I'm really meant to be,
into who I'm really meant to be,
to what feels really good at the soul level.
till it feels really good at the soul level.
Because I'm here to do great things.
Because I'm here to do great things.
And holding on to failure
And holding on to failure
doesn't allow me to do that.
doesn't allow me to do that.
I am not keeping myself stuck anymore.
I'm not keeping myself stuck anymore.
Seeing myself as a failure
Seeing myself as a failure
is just putting me in my own prison.
is just putting myself in my own prison.
And I'm all about freedom.
And I'm all about freedom.
So why would I imprison myself?
So why would I imprison myself?
I'm done with that.
I'm done with that.
I'm not a failure.
I'm not a failure.
I am not a failure.
I am not a failure.
I did not fail.
I did not fail.
Okay, so maybe I did.
All right, so maybe I did.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe that's okay.
I don't have to beat myself up about it.
I don't have to beat myself up about it.
I don't have to hold on to it.
I don't have to hold on to it.
I will learn from it.
I will learn from it.
I will grow from it.
I will grow from it.
I'll be positive.
I'll be positive.
I'll let it go.
I'll let it go.
I'm not a failure
I'm not a failure.
unless I choose to be.
Unless I choose to be.
Unless I keep myself stuck,
Unless I keep myself stuck.
afraid to fail.
Afraid to fail you.
If I'm afraid to fail,
If I'm afraid to fail,
chances are I will.
chances are I will.
That's the energy I'm carrying,
That's the energy I'm carrying.
and that's what I'm attracting.
That's what I'm attracting.
Failure creates failure.
Failure creates failure.
Or
Or
I can just look at this differently.
I can just look at this differently.
Yeah, I failed.
I did fail,
And maybe that controlled version
and maybe that controlled version
I was creating.
I was creating.
But I also opened myself up
But I also opened myself up
to new opportunity,
to new opportunities,
to new visions.
to new visions.
And that's not failing.
And that's not failing.
That's success.
That is success.
And that's how I choose to see myself.
And that's how I choose to see myself.
Take a breath and let it go and tune in and check in. You may be feeling better and lighter, hopefully. You may not, depending on what came up for you. So you might have had a very clear memory or a really strong emotion. Don't ignore that. Please go back and tap again using this video, using your own words if you need to. But don't ignore it. Don't let it settle back down and fester, okay? This is your opportunity to let go of the crap that you're holding on to around any time you may have failed. Because we're not failures if we grow from it. You're not a failure if you choose to learn from it. Failure is an opportunity to reinvent yourself. So here's to your reinvention. I look forward to seeing you next time on Tappy Break. Until then, happy tapping.